The war over jobs, NAFTA, immigration, and growing anxiety on the American work front. In Los Angeles, justice goes on trial. Opening arguments today in the Reginald Denny beating case. And Eye on America. Tonight, when kids are charged with murdering a parent, is child abuse a defense?
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather and Connie Chung.
Good evening. Dan has the night off. Americans want and need jobs, and President Clinton says the North American Free Trade Agreement will create them. But a lot of powerful people disagree. So today, the president appointed a general to lead what's shaping up as a very tough battle to get the trade deal through Congress. White House correspondent Bill Plant has the story.
Jobs, particularly good, high-wage industrial jobs, are growing more scarce every day, and so is the anxiety of American workers about keeping them. So it was no accident that President Clinton picked Chicago lawyer William Daley, a friend of big labor, to sell the controversial North American Free Trade Agreement. The pitch, it means more jobs.
This trade agreement means a better future for America's workers, for American industry, for the American economy. I think it is very much in our interest to adopt it.
Mr. Clinton argues more trade with Mexico means more jobs at a time when the difference between exports and imports is $12 billion, the highest in more than 5 years. But the politics of selling the trade agreement is rough. Many members of Mr. Clinton's own party fear that the deal will encourage businesses to send their high-wage jobs to Mexico.
This treaty is a sellout of the American worker. All it does is help corporations in Mexico and in the United States. And if this treaty goes through, American jobs will be our #1 export.
Also opposed, Ross Perot, who calls the trade agreement the ultimate insider deal. We cannot further jeopardize the fragile U.S. economy, says Perot in a new book, by lowering the wages of U.S. workers and reducing their ability to pay taxes. But Republicans with a big business orientation, including the Senate GOP leader Bob Dole, support the president this time around.
We believe in this case there'll be probably broader Republican support than support among Democrats. So we're going to demonstrate to the American people, and certainly to President Clinton, that we're in this together for the best interests of America.
No doubt about it, with a lot of Democrats, Ross Perot, and organized labor all lined up against it, the trade agreement is going to be one tough sell. The big question, when the crunch comes, can Mr. Clinton convince the voters and Congress that the trade agreement will create more jobs than it loses? Bill Plant, CBS News, the White House.
In California, the jobless rate is 9.8%, well above the national average. Many Californians, including Governor Pete Wilson, are blaming their economic troubles on illegal immigrants. And as correspondent Sandra Hughes reports, the rhetoric is getting downright nasty.
I say to them, they can kiss my rear end if they can leap that high from the low road.
That's the governor of California talking. He's responding to this Democratic Party ad.
In 1986, Senator Pete Wilson wrote the amendment that weakened immigration laws, opening our borders to cheap labor for his campaign contributors in agribusiness.
Wilson's heated response came just a week after he proposed his let's get even tougher approach to illegals crossing the border, a proposal that would deny education and citizenship to children born of illegals in the U.S. From the White House on down, all of a sudden, politicians are trying to outdo each other, lining up to denounce illegal immigration. Even the liberals are making a show of concern. Senators Dianne Feinstein and Barbara Boxer took a publicity trip to the Mexican border with Attorney General Janet Reno.
I think immigration will be one of the most significant problems that I face as Attorney General.
The day when America could be the welfare system for Mexico is gone. We simply can't afford it.
But it's not just money, it's also votes, something politicians can't afford to lose as the voters are losing sympathy for illegal immigrants. An overwhelming 76% of people polled now believe illegal immigration is a serious problem in California. But some politicians refuse to get caught up in this new hysteria and fear a nasty backlash.
So you point fingers, and it's easy to do that. It's unfortunate because sometimes you see discrimination, physical abuse.
It seems the politicians, both conservative and liberal, have found a common scapegoat to explain away the failing California economy. A group without a vote or a voice, illegal immigrants. Sandra Hughes, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Also in Los Angeles today, a jury viewed grisly pictures of the vicious beating of a white truck driver during the civil disturbance of 1992. Once again, videotape is the central evidence. Race is the central issue, and the system is among the defendants. Bill Whitaker reports on the start of another high-profile California trial.
No trespass, no peace.
Supporters of the defendants marched outside the LA courthouse.
Our young men are being scapegoated, used as examples for a system that's already unjust.
Inside, defendants Damian Williams and Henry Watson filed in to face their accusers and life in prison for attempted murder, aggravated mayhem, and the beating of Reginald Denny and 7 others at the bloody corner of Florence and Normandy last year.
That intersection, like the date, is now part of our nation's history.
The state laid out what it has called a rock-solid case.
This is Damian Monroe Williams.
Using slides to place Williams and Watson at the scene, a man prosecutors claim is Watson hurling a motorist through the air, a man they call Williams attacking Reginald Denny.
From inches away, he hurled a brick with all his might into the side of Reginald Denny's skull.
Williams' spokesman says the courtroom pictures prove nothing.
We dispute, of course, the claim that these defendants have been positively identified. Once again, most of the photos that I saw this morning, you couldn't tell who you were looking at.
And in a TV interview this week, Williams proclaimed innocence.
I'm being accused of attempted murder and several charges that they're alleging me of doing or accusing me of doing that I have no doing whatsoever.
A claim pressed by his attorney today in court.
And we believe that the evidence will show that the facts that are going to be presented will not show attempted murder or aggravated mayhem.
Reginald Denny and the other victims have been called to testify in this case, which the city is watching anxiously. The judge says it could last as long as 3 months. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Michael Jordan said today he lost his best friend when his father was murdered. In a written statement, his first since James Jordan's body was found last week, the basketball star said he was trying to deal with it in a way that would make his father proud. Meanwhile, prison authorities in North Carolina have isolated the 2 teenagers charged with the murder following threats from other inmates. Straight ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, another confrontation between U.S. pilots and Iraqi forces on the ground. And the new Russian Revolution, Western style.
Athlete's foot grows just beneath the surface of your skin, so that's where you have to get to cure it. Mycotin penetrates the skin surface with miconazole and kills the annoying fungus right where it starts. Mycotin penetrates, Mycotin cures.
Give me one good reason to try new Serenity bladder control guards.
This new blue layer, only Serenity has it. Pulls the wetness in quicker. Odor protection.
Drier, fresher? That just feels cleaner.
New Dry Layer Plus from Serenity.
Now, Hart's long-term flea and tick protection is not just for white-collar dogs and cats.
Hart's Yummies?
The famous Hart's 2-in-1 flea and tick-killing collars now come in fabulous colors. So every dog and cat can feel comfortable with the powerful benefits of Hart's 2-in-1 protection. Protection that works for up to 5 months, wet or dry. Pets are jumping for joy wearing their 2-in-1 colored collars. Just ask any flea or tick. These are drop-dead colors.
Fighting erupted at 2 flashpoints in the Middle East today on the border of Israel and Lebanon and in northern Iraq, where U.S. warplanes blasted an Iraqi missile site. We begin with Iraq and national security correspondent David Martin.
It was morning in Iraq. 2 American aircraft were patrolling the no-fly zone over the northern part of the country, a routine patrol of the kind which happens every day. Suddenly, things began to happen fast.
This team observed a launch of 2 missiles from a SA-3 surface-to-air missile site. And in response to this threat, the F-16C dropped cluster bombs on the site.
Several minutes later, another pair of U.S. warplanes dropped more cluster bombs, but the radar at the site was still operating. So the U.S. sent in 2 more planes, this time to drop laser-guided bombs. This gun camera footage from a raid earlier this year on an Iraqi anti-aircraft site shows what it would have looked like. After today's attack, The site was considered destroyed, and the Iraqis were left to make their usual complaints.
So the American attack was unwarranted, really.
With the Iraqi army out conducting maneuvers, it seemed possible Saddam Hussein might be thinking of challenging the UN sanctions under which he's been living since the end of the Gulf War. But U.S. officials said they were treating today's incident like all the others in which Iraqi anti-aircraft batteries have threatened American planes patrolling the northern and southern no-fly zones.
They don't lead us to think that there's something necessarily brewing.
A senior military officer called it just another day in Iraq. It was also just another reminder Saddam Hussein is still armed and capable of lashing out. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
Israel also got a reminder today about forces capable of lashing out. Pro-Iranian guerrillas in Lebanon struck again today with lethal results. Correspondent Bob Simon has that story.
The bodies came home by helicopter after the deadliest attack against Israeli forces in 8 years. 7 soldiers killed in the pre-dawn darkness of southern Lebanon. Within hours, 7 Israeli towns were mourning. By mid-afternoon, the platoon commander, 22-year-old Michel Levy, was being buried in Jerusalem. The men had been on a foot patrol. There had been explosive charges in their path. No one was surprised when Hezbollah, the self-styled Party of God, took credit for the attack. Their deputy chief said they had taught Israel a new lesson, that they will keep fighting until their land is liberated. Israel's chief of staff tonight had a different message.
As long as the Hezbollah will try to crack a security zone, we will keep hitting them as needed.
Which is what Israel started doing this afternoon. Israeli warplanes bombed 4 Hezbollah positions in the Bekaa Valley. No one could say whether this was the retaliation or just the opening round. But the Israelis didn't have the last word today. Hezbollah launched another attack this evening, killing another Israeli soldier. And the Israelis, who've been very satisfied with their bombardment of Lebanon 3 weeks ago, are having somber second thoughts tonight. The prime objective of that operation was to convince the governments of Lebanon and Syria to curb Hezbollah's ability to attack. That day, it now appears, is still a long ways off. Bob Simon, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
The presidents of Serbia and Croatia joined the Muslim president of Bosnia at peace talks today in Geneva, but they could not agree on how to divide up the ravaged country. Meanwhile, Croatian television showed pictures of what it said was a massacre of Croat civilians by Muslim forces in Bosnia. 140,000 people have died in 16 months of civil war. Stay with us for much more CBS Evening News, including controversial surgery for 2 baby sisters, Siamese twins, and a painful decision for their parents.
The Chocolate Lovers Festival at Baskin-Robbins. For hundreds of reasons, or no reason at all.
I used pressure-treated lumber, and I still have $800 in water damage. How come?
Even treated wood needs Thompson's Water Seal waterproofer. Without Thompson's, you're wide open for water damage. Thompson's. Don't wait until it's too late.
At 5 a.m., all the Millers can think about is that first get-you-going cup of coffee. That eye-opening, fill-the-kitchen aroma of Folgers crystals. It all begins with mountain-grown beans, fresh brewed, then crystallized, for a deep, dark, rich coffee just waiting to become your welcome to the day. There's no other coffee that kicks off the Miller's morning like Folgers crystals.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Good morning, sir. Would you care for a cereal?
Not just plain cereal. Let me tell you what really tastes great. First, I like to start with lots of delicious flakes. Then I'd sprinkle on a bunch of plump, juicy raisins and a few tender,
dates.
Yeah, dates.
Almonds?
Almonds are crunchy, good call. And what if we sweeten it with some brown sugar?
Brown sugar, of course.
Can you really make something that good?
Trust me, sir. We'll get it right.
The one-of-a-kind taste of Kellogg's Just Right. When it tastes this great, you know it's just right.
Who would want to be in an accident? They claim they were injured, and they weren't even on the bus. But our hidden cameras were.
Eye to Eye with Connie Chung tonight.
We have a follow-up tonight on an Eye on America investigation that revealed unsanitary conditions at a slaughterhouse in Omaha, Nebraska. The U.S. Agriculture Department admitted today that its inspection system collapsed. that food safety officials allowed the plant to operate for years, unaware that it had a long history of rat infestation and contaminated meat. Agriculture Secretary Mike Espy says he has ordered the changes in the inspection system to improve communications and supervision. In Philadelphia, surgeons will try tomorrow to separate a pair of Siamese twins. The operation will be extremely difficult. So was the decision to go ahead with it. Giselle Fernandez explains why.
Doctors in Philadelphia are racing against time to try and save at least one of the tiny Lakeberg twins, who are joined at the chest and share a diseased heart. Without immediate surgery, both will die of heart failure.
There is not a possibility for two individuals to survive.
The twins' parents who flew in today from Chicago know the odds are even against one child living, but say tomorrow's surgery is their only hope.
I just hope for the best and pray.
I'm scared. I'm hurting, you know, emotionally.
Ethicists say the Lakeberg case raises serious questions about the extremes taken to save a life when the odds are so slim and costs so high. The operation tomorrow will run into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the Lakebergs have no health insurance.
It's a sad event whenever a baby's born with abnormalities, and the attempt that we make as physicians to help those infants may well be expensive, but it often is worth the suffering.
But other parents who face this agonizing decision opted for the life-threatening surgery despite the odds and saved their children, say even the smallest chance is worth taking.
They couldn't give us any odds of if they would survive even birth.
Claire and Emily, now 9 years old, were joined at the pelvis and shared a third leg at birth. Despite the obvious signs of separation, the Taylors say both live pretty normal lives. They wish the Lakebergs a similar miracle.
They're going for that one chance, and one chance that one child could survive. And if anyone can be critical about that, you know, I can't understand that.
While tomorrow's surgery is the Lakebergs' only hope, it's been a heart-wrenching decision to make. Tonight, as they pray to save one baby, they also pray for the one that must die. Giselle Fernandez, CBS News, Philadelphia.
Still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, Eye on America. Tonight, children scared of a parent now charged with murder.
Where are we going to buy a new floor? A home center?
Not there.
A carpet store? A discount store?
Nope, we're going to Color Tile's wall-to-wall summer clearance with up to 50% off. Wall-to-wall carpet, only $7.99 installed.
Pay nothing for 6 months.
No wax vinyl tile, just 49 cents each. 8 terrific styles.
Imported ceramic tile, now only 59 cents each.
Genuine wood flooring, gorgeous, only 39 cents each.
Wall coverings, buy one, get one free. Stunning patterns.
Mini blinds, buy one, get 4 free.
Up to 50% off carpet,
vinyl,
ceramic,
wood floors,
wall coverings,
and windows, so why go anywhere else?
Color Tiles wall-to-wall summer clearance. No payment, no interest for 6 months.
Hurry.
Sale ends Monday.
Day after day, you make those glasses of thick Metamucil disappear. Why not make them all disappear with FiberCon? Doctor-recommended FiberCon gives you the same fiber regularity in tablets.
Easy-to-swallow tablets.
Get doctor-recommended FiberCon.
How fast does Anbesol start to relieve toothache pain? Before you can say
Anbesol.
Denture pain? Before you can say
Anbesol.
Relieve minor mouth pain on contact with Anbesol in regular or maximum strength.
Why is Tux medicated pads the brand of hemorrhoid relief hospitals trust most? Because when hemorrhoids flare up, Tux provides soothing, cooling relief on contact. Tux, the brand hospitals trust most.
Some child safety tips that could save you a lot of grief, and find out what Gene Siskel thinks about The Secret Garden.
Tomorrow on CBS This Morning with Harry Smith and Paula Zahn.
It's shocking and difficult to believe, but it's true. Every year in this country, about 300 children kill a parent. Most claim it was the only way to stop the parent from abusing them. So is it self-defense or murder? A jury in Oklahoma will be asked to decide that very question, as John Blackstone reports in tonight's Eye on America.
In August in Rush Springs, Oklahoma, the annual Watermelon Festival is usually the only thing to think about. Seed spitting contest and all.
36, 1 1/2.
But this summer, Rush Springs is draped in blue ribbon, a show of support for two boys facing first-degree murder charges for killing their father.
They're sweet, polite children. I mean, you wouldn't have believed they had the kind of father they did.
Herman and Drewy Dutton, 15 and 12, now find themselves at the center of a national debate over child abuse and justice. In the family's trailer outside town, their father was asleep on the couch when they put a bullet in his head. Lonnie Dutton died instantly. Almost everybody in town says he deserved it.
He was one of the meanest, most sadistic people that you could ever imagine.
He just load up a gun and, you know, shoot it through the ceiling or shoot it through the floor. You know, he just likes shooting guns around people to scare them.
He would force the kids into a boxing match and tell them, hit me, and then they'd hit him, and then he'd hit them just as hard as he would a man. They'd go flying across the room, and whenever they cried or anything, Sissy, get up from there, you big baby.
He would make the kids, you know, give the kids a belt and stuff and then tell them, you know, go beat the hell out of your mom.
He would force the children to. They would cry, and, Mama, I don't want to hit you, but Daddy makes me.
Rosemarie Dutton fled her brutal husband 4 years ago, but he won custody of all 4 of their children after he accused her of child abuse.
It never investigated whatsoever. Me, him, nothing. They just took it and said, well, kid says everything's fine. And they left it.
You know, the boys were so scared of their dad and afraid what would happen to them if they told, then, you know, they wouldn't tell a word.
I wasn't surprised that he got killed, stunned that my children did it. And then I thought, you know, I should have done it. I should have taken care of that so my kids didn't have to go through it.
Ironically, had she killed him, the law might have treated her with more understanding than it's likely to treat her children. Women who kill their husbands after suffering years of violent abuse have successfully used a defense now widely accepted by courts called the battered wife syndrome. But a battered child who kills a parent is still more likely to be treated as a murderer, not a victim.
The state of Oklahoma has not recognized formally or officially the defense of a battered child syndrome.
At town meetings, people are trying to understand how everyone could have failed the boys so completely.
Let us take the blame. Let the welfare system take a little bit of the blame instead of trying to put it off on little kids, saying that they're murderers. They're not. They're scared, small children. They've seen nothing but abuse from the time they was born.
Now, the system that was supposed to protect the Dutton boys is putting them on trial. And the town that knew for so long what was happening is finally mobilized to help, only after it's too late. In Rush Springs, Oklahoma, this is John Blackstone for Eye on America.
You make me feel so young. You make me feel there are songs to be sung.
Introducing Fat-Free Promise Ultra. Zero fat with just 5 delicious calories a serving.
And every time I see you grin,
It's the first fat-free margarine, definitely one of a kind.
you make me feel so young.
Regular or new Fat-Free Promise Ultra. Get heart smart.
When we chose a stain, I wanted a special color.
I wanted a stain that protects.
They both wanted Thompson Stain. In 100 custom colors, it's the only stain that contains Thompson's Water Seal Waterproofer. It waterproofs better than the leading brand's premium stain. Thompson Stain.
A night for Excedrin PM.
Why can't I turn off this day?
You backed into my car.
Everyone else is going.
I am still your mother. My head aches and I can't sleep.
You want Excedrin PM. Strong aspirin-free headache medicine you can feel good about, plus a gentle ingredient to help you sleep.
Lovely lake. In your basement.
Turn off the day with Excedrin PM, and rest assured it's aspirin-free.
The good news, diets rich in antioxidants may benefit your long-term health. The bad news, the average diet is not rich in antioxidants. Today's news, Protegra, the new antioxidant supplement that's all antioxidants. More vitamin E, vitamin C, and beta-carotene. Protegra, with more antioxidant support than you get from a regular multivitamin. To boost your antioxidant levels, even if you take a multivitamin, add Protegra to your daily routine. Protegra, the good news in antioxidants.
Attention heartburn sufferers.
If antacids work, why do I keep getting heartburn?
You know, frequent heartburn may be a sign of a more serious medical problem. Your doctor has treatment plans that can help.
Frequent heartburn. Isn't it time you talk to your doctor?
A big birthday in Washington. President Clinton turned 47 today. He began his birthday with a 4-mile run through Washington. Later, the first family left for an 11-day vacation on Martha's Vineyard. In Moscow, a few thousand protesters hit the streets today calling for a return to communism on the second anniversary of the failed coup against Mikhail Gorbachev. President Boris Yeltsin said hardliners might try again to seize power, but the people would never let them succeed. 2 years after communism crumbled in Russia, the old system is still falling apart. But as Cindy Kennard reports, a radically different Russia is beginning to appear.
Welcome to the new Moscow. A wealthy elite is changing the look of this city.
If you'd asked me whether I would come to the opening of the Rolls-Royce showroom in Moscow, I'd have think you'd gone round the twist.
But Rolls-Royce is here, and Russia's new rich have the money to buy the best of the West.
We have only exclusive people in our salon.
And in these pricey shops built for Westerners, he says 80% of the customers are Russian.
$4,500. $4,500 for this coat.
A lot of American businessmen will be amazed of the amount of dollars just in the city alone.
Who are these Russian rich anyway? Mikhail Yuriev has made millions in Russian industry, but says he's the exception.
Majority of our rich guys are closer to your drug dealers than to your conventional businessmen.
So how do you get rich in a collapsing economy? Too often it's a fast buck in organized crime or smuggling Russia's raw materials to the West.
From 5 to 10% are now real rich people in Moscow. They're quite rich.
That's it, 5 to 10%. The others, 60% living in poverty or close to it. Another 30% barely making ends meet.
Doesn't mean that anyone succeeds. Of course, a relative small number succeeds.
But the Russian spending binge goes on. Conspicuous consumption, you bet. And something the fathers of the revolution would have found revolting. Cindy Kennard, CBS News, Moscow.
And that's our news. Coming up on Eye to Eye, an undercover investigation of accident fraud. Would you believe people are bold enough to board a bus after an accident, then file injury claims? Watch as our hidden cameras catch them in the act. And you'll meet a woman who uses her camera to catch men in the act of what she calls sexual harassment right on the street. Those stories and more on Eye to Eye tonight at 9, 8 Central Time. I'll see you then and again tomorrow night here on the CBS Evening News. Thank you for joining us. For Dan Rather and all of us at CBS News, good night.
Experience CBS News. If your daughter were murdered, you'd want justice. That's all this mother and novelist Dominic Dunn want.
There seemed to be much more attention paid to protecting people who might be guilty.
So who killed Martha Moxley? Dunn thinks he knows. A real-life murder mystery on Eye on America tomorrow on the CBS Evening News. This is CBS.